Apostrophes. Are you sure you're using them correctly? Hi, I'm Megan at Lexicool Tuition, and today I'm going to be focusing on apostrophes, outlining common misconceptions and how we can fix those misconceptions. Why do we use apostrophes? Where do we use apostrophes? So firstly, what is an apostrophe? What does it look like? So having taught in schools and colleges, I've often had students say to me, oh, it's like a comma thing, but you just put it somewhere else, which I can understand why you might think that. So this is what an apostrophe looks like. It's very simple, but as opposed to a comma, it goes at the top rather than the bottom. Okay, so apostrophes are used usually before an S, okay? But that does not mean that you always put an apostrophe in just whenever there is an S. Don't just think, oh, there's an S, I'll put an apostrophe in, because that's not correct. So the first reason we use an apostrophe is for omission or contraction. So it's the same thing really. So that basically means that you miss out a letter to shorten a word. So being busy people, we often abbreviate our words. We don't say, do not do that. Well, we might say that, but often we'll say, don't do that. I can't do that. So we're shortening our words from do not to don't, cannot to can't. So here are some examples of some contractions, how apostrophes are used to shorten words. So we use apostrophes very frequently for omissions. And we often get mistakes in using these omissions. It seems very simple, but people can get very confused about words like your. So at the start of the video, I asked if you're using them correctly, because I'm sure you are, because you're looking this up, but a lot of people don't use it correctly. So the homophone, a homophone is a word in which the meaning is different and the spelling is different, okay? But it sounds the same. So the word your seems to cause lots of problems. So if we look at your without the apostrophe, that simply means something belonging to someone or something. For example, your bag, your lesson, your day. Okay, simple, right? So when we bring an apostrophe in, what are we actually trying to say? Just like we said with do not being don't, your with an apostrophe is you are. So you are, okay? For example, you're watching this video right now. You are watching this video right now. You're going to do really well in your English exams. Or maybe you already have. Okay, so you're with an apostrophe is simply you are. That's all it is, okay? So if you're ever stuck on your, just think, is it your as in you are, or is it something belonging to you? It's just simple apostrophe replacing the letter A. So another word that people often get confused about is the word it's, okay? Sometimes it has an apostrophe in, sometimes it doesn't. So why does it have an apostrophe in? Just like your, it's a letter that's being missed out and abbreviating a word. It's with an apostrophe, it's just saying it is. So, for example, it's a rainy day. In England, often is. So it is a rainy day. It's going to be exciting once we get out of lockdown. It is, okay? So here are some other examples of it's with an apostrophe. So what about it's without an apostrophe? So it's without an apostrophe means belonging, okay, possession. For example, the dog licked its paws. The paws belong to the dog, instead of saying her or his, okay? So London is popular or well known for its big red buses, okay? So here are some other examples of it's without an apostrophe. So to recap, it's with an apostrophe, it's just it is. It's without an apostrophe is to show possession, okay? So what about if an apostrophe goes after an S? We know when we're trying to show possession that an apostrophe goes before the S. However, it may be that the noun already ends with an S, therefore the apostrophe has to go after the S. For example, the name James. If your name is James and something belongs to you, so for example, James's house, the apostrophe would go after the S. And you have the option to add an additional S just to clarify that meaning. However, you don't have to use that. So here are some examples in which an apostrophe would go after an S if the noun ends with the letter S. So as well here we've got Mrs. Jones. So Mrs. Jones is just one of her. Mrs. Jones's basket. So the apostrophe would go after the S. However, we also use apostrophes after S's for another reason, and that would be to pluralise. So often nouns such as boy, girl can be quite ambiguous with an S on the end. So boys, the boy's bike. Is that one boy or is that, two boys? Maybe they share a bike. So to show that it's more than one, you would add the apostrophe after the S. So for example, the boy's bike. Two boys share a bike, or perhaps more than two boys. The same for girls. Okay, so an example for me, an anecdote actually, was when I was actually wanting to order a pizza and it said about free kids parties. So the apostrophe was before the S. So as you know, that's a problem because actually kids parties, it was meant to be plural. So I did actually email this specific place and I told them that it was very unfair that only one kid could have a free party. I'm not sure if they saw the funny side, but they did actually correct it. They did change their website, but sadly I didn't get any free pizza. But as you can see in this example, kids, if the apostrophe goes before the S, it's just one kid. However, if it's after the S, it's pluralised. And I see this quite frequently, kids, mistake in which the apostrophe must go after the S if it's pluralising. So we've talked about pluralising ambiguous nouns. However, some nouns are always pluralised. So for example, children. Children is always pluralised. Therefore, the apostrophe would always go before the S as opposed to after the S. So here are some other examples in which, although they're pluralised, because they're always plural, you only ever put the apostrophe before the S as opposed to after the S. So here are some examples. So just to sum up, when a noun ends with an S and you're trying to show belonging, you put an apostrophe after that S. If you're trying to show that it's a plural, it goes after the S. However, if it's already pluralised, for example, women is always plural, you would put the apostrophe before the S. So today we have looked at the uses of apostrophes for omission or contraction and possession, belonging. If you have any questions about apostrophes or any requests about videos I could do in the future, please feel free to comment and let me know. And you may check out my website, which is www.lexicooltuition.com. Many thanks.